right, thank you all. Welcome everyone. This is the one that's, here we go. Thank you all for coming. We also want to thank the Chateau for hosting us. You want me to speak louder? All right. Thank you all again for coming. This is a great chance for us to meet as a chamber to celebrate what we did in 2018 or 2017 and also to look forward to what we're going to do in 2018. We did a lot of great things in 2017 and we hope to do a lot more in 2018. As always, our main focus is to be a voice for businesses and organizations in our community. No matter whatever upheaval happens, both locally and nationally, we know that you guys still work every day. We know that you provide for your families, for your employees, for people around you every day, and that goes on no matter what. We strive to provide a way to be here and stand with you to help you connect with others. That's our purpose here at the Chamber, is just to be a voice for you in the community. Some small unfortunate news. Bob Halloran will not be here. He has to be away at a media event because the Patriots won yesterday. We tried to get him to have a replacement, but wasn't quick enough time. I think that we'll have a great year this year because we have a great team. So I'm going to take this time to introduce our board members who are a big part of our team who make everything run. I'm going to ask them to stand up and then come on up here to the front so we can take a picture. Starting with the executive board, we have Chris Petrie. And also Ellen Green. And finally, Mark Coletta. Chris and Ellen are the vice chairman, and Mark is a treasurer. And to our board, we have Lester Davis, who may not be here yet. he may be here at some point. Jason Rinaldo. And is Stephen Tyre here? No, he's not here either. And Fred Yatanes. And finally, we want to welcome one of our new members, Carrie O'Halloran. And I didn't introduce myself. I guess my name is Reg Lamb. I'm the chairman of the board. So.
Am I in the wrong order here?
No.
Doesn't matter?
No.
It's all about origins.
We're a team.
Awesome. Thank you.
Is that it?
Quick and easy.
We also want to welcome a couple of new members to our chamber, including Dana Barros from the Dana Barros Basketball Club. And if you'll stand up when I introduce you, that'd be great too. Cindy Cushman from HR2 Fit. Fantastic. And Jameson Torres from Rockland Trust. Since we have a couple of extra minutes, one thing I'd like to do is we'll go around the room one at a time. If you would please stand up, state your name and your business so that we can all introduce each other to ourselves. So go ahead. Now that everybody's introduced themselves, I want to say one final thank you to Joanne, who calls you all the time to make sure that everyone comes and that we have successful meetings. So thank you, Joanne. It's never fun to cold call people. Finally, I'm just going to introduce our executive director, the man that makes everything work, Terry Schneider.
I haven't eaten yet. That's why. Who's? not much to say, actually. We're going to be, the food's going to be coming out in about 5 minutes, so that's what we had planned on, and there's not much else. Reg already mentioned, I feel bad that Bob Halloran couldn't make it, but like he said to me, it's all because of the Patriots, so not much we can do about that. So go about your business, talk a little bit, introduce yourselves to each other, and the food will be out in about 3 minutes. Thanks. So I know you probably didn't come here to see me, so I can understand that. I don't even want to see me. But I'm going to introduce you to Mr. Dana Barros, who basically made a living playing basketball. I know we all would have loved to have been able to do that, but he actually did it. And he's going to tell us a little bit about basketball, and he's going to tell us a little bit about business after basketball. And he just happened to open a little place up on 138, which was where Bay State Ford used to be. In about another 3 months, we'll stop saying that. We'll just say Dana Barros Basketball Club. So without further ado, Dana Barros.
Oh, okay, follow protocol, follow protocol.
You don't want to use this one, this is recorded.
We'll do, okay.
Sorry.
Well, I want to first thank everyone for having me come. It's an honor to be here. Just coming into the Stoughton community, again, it's an honor to be here, speak with you guys, and to meet everyone who's in our business community as well. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about myself, maybe about 10 or 15 minutes, my story, and then I would love to open it up to questions from you guys and ladies to maybe have some conversations and go down the path you guys would like to go down and not just speak for, because I can talk forever. Believe me, I can go on and on. But I'm from Mattapan. I grew up right in Mattapan on off of Blue Hill Ave in Morton. And just my grandmother raised me with my mother. My mom was 16 and my dad was 16 when they had me. So my grandmother was adamant that my mom went to school and finished her education, and I really kind of the first 5 was with her until my mom graduated college and stuff. And at a very early age, I would tell you at 3 years old, I knew what I wanted to do because I went to my father's junior college basketball game. I'm not sure, it was a different college back then in Boston, and I watched him in the warm-up line, and I'm sitting there as like a 3-year-old, and I thought that he was like a superstar. And there was only like 20 people in the stands, but I'm saying, my dad, and I said, this is what I want to do. So from that point on, I promise you, 8 a.m., wake up, eat my Captain Crunch, go to the park. Come home, peanut butter and jelly, back to the park. And people, when I tell that to kids, they don't believe that that is a literal thing that I'm telling them, but it is literally what I did and is the only reason why I'm here. So as I got to maybe 7th, 8th grade, I went to St. Angeles in Mattapan Square. My grandmother was a Eucharistic minister, so education was the most important thing. So I wasn't allowed to go outside. I couldn't watch TV until I finished my homework. That was the most important thing. And I knew that she was pretty serious about that, but as I got in 8th grade and I started to become good in sports, I remember being at school. And now my mother had taken back over, and she was just like my grandmother. So I remember sitting in class in I think it was 8th or 9th grade, Severian High School. And I remember sitting in class, and I remember looking at the door. You know, in the gym, in the school, they have those glass little squares in the door. So I'm like, that looks like my mother. I'm like, why is my mother here? You know, so I'm sitting in the back of the room. And then the door opens, and then, like, I knew something was, like, really, really wrong, because when my mother looked in, she had rollers in her hair, right? So I'm saying she never leaves the house unless it's an emergency with the rollers in her hair. So she just looks at me and says, come here. So I'm like, okay, something's wrong. So she takes me up down to the coach's room, walks into the boys' locker room. It's the all-boys school. She doesn't care. Takes all my stuff, says, where's the coach's office? Drops my stuff on the coach's desk and said, Dana's got a D in math and he's not playing for the rest of the year. So they didn't think she was serious, because I'm averaging, ridiculous amount of points, and they're just so happy to have me there. It's my first year. And they really don't know what my home situation is, that I had a contract that I'm supposed to follow. So they, literally that night, first the coach calls. And she's like, not playing, clicks him, hangs up on him. Then the AD calls, hangs up on him. Then the principal calls, and she's like, look, if you call the house one more time, he's not coming back to the school. And that was my first point, like, okay, she's dead serious. And So from that point on, I took school as serious as basketball because that was my foundation of my family. So I go to Severian Brothers, and as a lot of you may know, in 1985, we didn't have internet. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have computers. So I show up at Severian. I don't even know it's an all-boys school. I'm like, where are the girls at? I show up there, and she tricked me. So she thinks that's hilarious. So I go to Severian. I have, you know, a good career, and I have to give all credit to my high school coach because when I actually went to Severian, I could not make a foul shot. I was the worst shooter you have ever seen in your life, literally, and I mean that. And he's the one who sat me down in a chair every single day for 45 minutes and taught me the technical aspect or the technical way to shoot. And I owe him probably everything because that really changed my path in life. So he teaches me how to shoot, and at first I hated him. I used to call my mother on the cell phone, on the pay phone. It cost me like $3 to call from Westwood to Mattapan, and I used to say, I don't like this guy. He's making me do stuff that I don't want to do. And the crazy thing was I started making shots for the first time. And he became kind of that mentor for me, and he just taught me how to play the right way. He taught me how to watch film. So as I graduate Severian, I'm an All-American football player, not a basketball player. And I've never practiced football one day in my life. I just went to the games, and they threw me the ball, and I caught it, and I ran. So I'm getting all these offers for football. Michigan, Notre Dame, Miami. My 2 visits to BC were football visits with Doug Flutie. I'm a top 50 football player in the country. So I'm taking these visits, and I'm not getting basketball offers. And I'm wondering why, because I averaged 39 points a game in high school with no three-point line. So I'm saying, where is everyone at? And only one school offered me a scholarship, and that was Northeastern, the only school that offered me a basketball scholarship. So I go to sign football at BC. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to have to play football. I really don't want to, but I'm going to walk on to the basketball team and show them I can make it. So the last day, I'm supposed to sign my football contract at BC. That afternoon, I get a call from the basketball office, and they said, a kid left the basketball team. Do you want the extra scholarship? As nonchalant as that. You know, like, and so how ironic, you know, that is. And I said, absolutely, I want to come in and I want to play. And from that point on, I just said, I'm never going to ever give this position up. You know what I mean? And I just, again, worked 8, 10 hours a day. And I promise you, I'm not exaggerating. This is the only reason I'm here talking to you is just, I have just that relentless will to do that. And I said, at that point, I knew for some reason, if I get a chance, I'm going to make it to the NBA. And I just said, I have to be ready for that chance. So I go to BC. I have a good career, freshman of the year, and actually really had a great year. And I'm a senior, and I don't know if I'm going to get drafted or not. I'm going to all these senior things. And so I ended up going to, and they tell me, Dana, you're going to get drafted in the second round. So I'm like, okay, all I asked for was a chance, so this is going to be my chance. So I'm in Chicago on draft day with the Bulls, meeting with the Bulls. So I'm saying maybe and they're picking 23rd in the first round. So I'm meeting with them, and I'm like, oh, my God, Michael Jordan is my favorite player. I cannot believe I'm going to get drafted by the Chicago Bulls, and I'm freaking out. I'm in there with the coach and the owner. So I fly back to Boston, and they're telling me, we shake, Dana, we're going to take you with the 23rd pick. So I'm just ecstatic. As soon as I land, I go home really quick. The draft is coming on. My mother, grandmother, my whole family, we had about 200 people at my house. I went out the back door and left. Went to my friend's house. Nobody knew where I was at. So I'm just joking around with him, and the draft comes on, and David Stern says, with the 16th pick, Seattle drafts Donna Barriosi. And I'm like, who the hell is Donna Barriosi? You know what I mean? And my friend is like tapping me like, Dana, that's you. And I am mad. I am totally upset, like, no, I'm supposed to go play with Michael Jordan. Why are you messing my Michael Jordan thing up? And, you know, I'm literally almost in tears that I didn't get drafted by Chicago. But my friend is like, dude, what is wrong with you? Like, you're the 16th pick. This, you know, you got to guarantee this is so. I get over that, and I'm like, okay, all right, I'm going to Seattle. The furthest place, you know, away from Boston you can get, 3,000 miles away, I get there. And actually, I love it. So I'm getting there, and I'm playing. The training camp is great. But then I look at the schedule, and the first exhibition game is against the Chicago Bulls. So we're at the Kingdom, and there's 60,000 people watching an exhibition game. And obviously I'm in awe. I'm just looking at Michael Jordan in the warm-up line the whole time. So the game starts. I didn't start. I come off the bench maybe halfway through the first quarter, and I walk on the floor, and I'm the point guard, and I don't want the ball right quick because my knees are like this, and I'm like, no, you take it up. So I just jog down, and literally the first time I catch the ball in the corner, I catch the ball and I turn around. Michael Jordan is in my face like this. I swear to you, this is a true story. So I was like, whoa. And I looking at him, I'm like, that's Michael Jordan. And I'm holding the ball, and everybody is screaming at me, Dana! Because I'm holding the ball literally for 5 seconds. And then all of a sudden, I just snapped out of it. And I went like this to Sean Kemp and Gary Payton. Get out the way. Get out the way. And I'm going one-on-one with Michael Jordan. I'm laying in my bed my whole life waiting for this moment, right? So I said I might not ever see him or play against him again. So I'm like, get out the way. And he thought that was hilarious. He just started laughing. He said, okay, Dana. And I'm like, he knows my name. How does he know my name? We have scouting reports, duh, right? So all of a sudden, when I snapped out of it and I jab stepped and I went by him and I'm going up and I'm like, gonna finger roll on Mike, and I'm like here, and this big black hand just came out of nowhere and slapped the ball like 15 rows into the stands. And he came up to me, he put his arm around me, and he slapped me on the back. He's like, I like you, little man, I like you. And from ever since that day, we were cool. He would always come up to me because he just respected the fact that I was like, oh, let's go, let's go. And it wasn't anything malicious. He knew that I looked up to him and that this is what I was waiting for. So that was my first NBA experience, and it was, I tell that story every time to kids because it's a dream-inspired story. I laid every single day. I wore Michael Jordan, Chicago Bulls, underwears and basketballs my whole life. And I'll tell you a story about BC. The crazy, how much I was inspired by him was every BC game, and I read in Sports Illustrated that Michael Jordan used to wear North Carolina shorts underneath his Chicago Bulls shorts because he went to North Carolina. So I'm at Boston College. I would go into the stall every game and put on North Carolina shorts under my BC shorts every single game. So, you know, that's how much I looked up to him. So ultimately, I played 14 and a half years. I went Seattle 4 years, which is now Oklahoma City. I played 2 years in Philly, and then Allen Iverson came, and they were like, see you later, and I got to come home to Boston. I played here 6 years, and then I went to Detroit for 2 years. So I played 14 and a half years. It's been an unbelievable career, and you know, for a little guy from Mattapan, and even now today I watch tapes, and I say tapes because we have VCR tapes back then. We didn't have digital media. So I'm showing my son, who was a junior at BC, and I love to show him all the tapes because we're gonna, you know, convert them to digital media. So I'm putting all these tapes in. I'm showing him my high school games. Son, I had 59 points in this game. Look at this game. And he's just looking at the tape quiet. And I'm like, okay, let me show you this game. I put another tape in, and he's just looking at the tape quiet. I'm like, dude, I had 57. I had 61 in this game. And he's like, Dad, your shorts are so little, I can't even look at you. Because back then, we had the real short shorts. And he's like, please don't show this to my friends if they come over. And don't post this on YouTube, you know. But this was like 7 years ago. But now, all he wears is skinny jeans and little tight pants, and it's okay now for him, you know. So, and I have 2 boys. My wife is actually from Mattapan. We've been together 34 years now. She also went to BC and graduated 1 year behind me. And actually, I have to give BC a lot of credit because they allowed her, after I was drafted, they allowed her to go to any, they told her, you can go to any school in Seattle as long as it's a Jesuit university, and we'll let you come back and graduate from BC. And she did that. So she went to Seattle Pacific University. She came back and she walked with her class as if she never left BC. And then they also, we were engaged, and they said, the church is yours, and they gave us St. Ignatius Church on campus, and we were married in St. Ignatius Church on campus. So that's kind of my story, my life story. But that's just the beginning, because basketball obviously has continued. I've been running these camps since 1989, and my mother, Stephanie, who really was, you know, again, the inspiration not only in life, but she ran that company for me for, you know, 25 years or 20 years or so. And having that family-run business, I'm so inspired, because I see guys come up to me and young ladies come up to me, and the guy might have a beard, a gray beard, and he's like, hey, I went to your camp when I was young, you know? So I'm like, okay, that's great, but you're like 30, so that makes me realize how long I've been doing this. And it's something that I love to do, and I'm inspired by it, and someone did it for me. I had a coach in 8th grade at St. Angeles who said, basketball is going to take you somewhere one day, and I didn't really understand what he meant. And now he always says I still owe him some money here and there for all the things he's done for me. So after I retired in 03, and I've continued just to run these programs. And it's not just dealing with the kids that are good. It's really the kids that I can take in and say, this kid really wants to be good. They may not be as talented. They may not have the fanfare, the exposure. Those are my kids that I love to work with, because that was the type of person and the player. I was never first team anything. I was never this. I made one all-star team, but I love being the underdog. And as all of us, you know, we're as business owners, you know how hard it is and how difficult it is to own your own company and to have people working for you that you need to trust. And I have one here, and Stephanie, my manager. And so I went from one Stephanie to the next Stephanie. This is my manager. And I've been doing this now in Avon for 4 years. I started the Dana Barros Club in Avon in 2012 or 13. We've grown to 40 AAU teams, 38, 39 AAU teams this past spring. And we were basically in need of a facility. And living in Easton, we live literally a quarter of a mile to a half a mile from the facility in Stoughton. And we must have looked at 50 to 100 different warehouses all over the place, and little did we know there was one literally a quarter mile up the street. And it's been a blessing to be able to get that property. It's a great location. My mom, you know, lives in Stoughton, and 138 is just the perfect place for us to be. And again, I'm looking forward to having many, many years working not only in the community, but with you guys and young ladies. And would love to have any questions now at this time. And again, it's an honor to be here, and we're looking forward to working with and all the kids in all the surrounding towns, and that's what we do. Sure.
Sorry. I just want to apologize to Dana, Bob Halloran, who couldn't make it. Obviously, it's a situation that could be controlled. But what we didn't realize, since I only learned an hour before this event, Bob had whatever speech that he was going to present, which I'm sure included a couple of accolades for you. So, you know, please ask the questions so we can maybe get some of that stuff out. I'm not going to ask Dana to necessarily talk about his own accolades, but with the right questions, maybe we can squeeze something out of him.
Yeah, please, any questions, just raise your hand. Go ahead, right there.
Well, as far as accolades, I remember seeing Dana. My brother played football with him, and he was a great football player at Severe, and they were the first team that went to the Super Bowl and played at Gillette.
Definitely.
And Dana was a wide receiver, defensive back. What lesson did you learn from sports that you think transcended sports that you take with you every day?
Well, sports is life, and I try to explain to the kids, like, okay, you love basketball. If you can't wake up and go work on your game every day doing something that you love to do, how can you do something that you don't love to do? You know what I mean? So if this is not inspiring to you to work on your games that you supposedly love, how are you going to get up every day and do something and go to a meaningless job that you're not attached to? And I always tell them to attach yourself to something you love. And that's why I will never branch and try to do something. This is what I love to do, and that's what I try to inspire the kids. Even if you don't make it to the NBA, my son's is going to BC to play tennis next year. I tell him, if you don't make the pro tour, you can teach tennis. You can be a tennis instructor. You can be you can train tennis kids. You can be a physical therapist that works on tennis players. You can be an announcer in tennis. So that's the message that I try to inspire kids is, even if I didn't make the NBA, I wanted to be an NBA announcer, and I've done that. I did Comcast Sports for the Celtics for like 5 years. So that's just the message that we try to send out. Next question? Go ahead.
Tell us about your 57 points at Severian Brothers.
All right. Well, we had a team at Severian, and I mean back then we didn't have, like, our center was like 6 feet tall. You know what I mean? So we had a little team that was just running around, and we made the state tournament, and we weren't supposed to win any games. We ended up, I hate to say, we beat Stoughton in the first round, and then we played some other teams, and we made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And over those 5 games, I scored 50 points or more every game, and there wasn't a 3-point line, so there was a lot of, and I would remember coming to these games, showing up, and the bus would pull up, and there would be so many people there, and I remember saying, like, why the hell are all these people here? But they were coming to see me because I had three games in a row, then 4 games in a row. And I'll never forget, I'm at Needham High School, the fire marshal came and said no more people can get in. And my grandmother was outside, and my grandmother sent someone in and said, you tell Dana if I don't get in here, the game's not going up. I swear that's the God's honest truth. I literally came out the warm-up line, went outside and said, that's my grandmother. She needs to come in here. And so that's when I kind of realized that, wow, this is pretty cool. Like and even playing in the NBA for 15 years, when I watch those tapes with my kids, it doesn't seem real to me. It seems like I'm watching someone, but I kind of remember it. I don't remember many things about it at all. You know what I mean? It's kind of watching yourself in a different, space and time almost. So it's and that's the reason why I said what I said earlier. I'm just doing what I love to do, so I don't think about it. It's just instinctual, everything that I was doing. So I didn't have to figure it out. I didn't have to do anything. I just played. Good.
Dana, as I'm listening to you, first of all, you're very engaging and a wonderful speaker, so thank you.
Thank you.
But one of the things I'm listening to, I'm saying he is passionate about what he does, and clearly he's made that clear. But you have this enormous amount of humility. Like Terry got up there and said, we have to ask more questions so that we can learn more about what you've been successful with. And I really want to understand that humility. I want us to understand where that comes from, how you keep yourself grounded.
Well, that's the family. That's my grandmother and my mother and my father. I would come home from scoring 50 points in high school, and they'd be like, all right, take the trash out, do da-da-da-da-da-da. Like, don't even eat nothing until you do that. And they made sure I stayed along that path. And again, we didn't have social media back then, you know what I mean? So no one even in New York knew who I was, even though I'm scoring 50 points a game. So I couldn't go on Facebook and go, what, 50 today? Like everybody does now, you know what I mean? So I would probably do that, So, but I just believe that I didn't do it by myself. Like literally, I had the whole city was behind me, of Boston. Like I would go to parks and people would want to beat me up because I was good in basketball, and people I didn't know would protect me, you know what I mean? And say, hey, you better not touch that kid. Because I'm 13 years old playing 18 and under. And I'm a little kid, and everybody's on the sideline like, ooh! Next thing you know, they're trying to clothesline me or something. So I feel like the whole city was really behind me and supported me. And, when things were going wrong or going down, they would always get me away from the situation. So I never felt like I did it by myself. My parents, they drove, when I played in Boston College, we played in the Big East. So they never missed a game. They worked every day. They drove to Villanova, 8 hours, drove back, and went a half a day to work the next day. So that's the type of foundation and support that I had, and my sister as well. So I wasn't allowed to be that way, honestly, and it's kind of continued. And I played in the NBA for 15 years, and I've been around a lot of players who need humility. So I'm sitting next to somebody who you're like, oh my, this is what it sounds like when you're not humble, you know what I mean? So I've had enough of that to realize that someone's always watching you, you know what I mean? So, go ahead.
Dana, could you tell us a little bit about some of the features of your new building?
Definitely. The Dana Barros Basketball Club, people just think that we have games and tournaments, but we're a teaching facility, and that's the reason why I've been able to be in this business for 30 years and be successful, because every parents talk to every parent when you're at these things, and if you don't produce the product that you're saying, and if your child comes to me, they will get better. Okay, they will get, and that's what my premise, I base the premise of my business on. So it's not about I want this kid because he's the best kid. If a kid is engaged and wants to get better, he will get better because of the things that we're teaching him. So we have 4 training clinics every single week, year round. Christmas, Thanksgiving might be the only 2 days we're not open. I mean, so we're literally open 7 days a week. And we have training, we have film rooms where we can bring a 5th grade kid and say, hey, this is what we're trying to tell you. And that's what we do. And that's kind of, I want to teach the game in that aspect. And AAU is the business that we're in. It's difficult to teach kids how to play the right way because it's just, you're just pressing and you just da-da-da-da-da, and there's no structure to it. If your kid can't dribble, he can't play AAU because he's just going to get pressed the whole game. So it's hard to teach in that arena, you know. That's why we do the training sessions 4 nights a week, just to make sure the kids are prepared for that. So we also have volleyball there. Each court has volleyball nets in it. Coming up, we'll have yoga, Pilates. We're trying to integrate all these things into the gym. So it's not just a gym. There'll be classes, you know, all those different things in the morning, afternoons. Open gym every day for kids to come and just shoot around. And any aspect that we can branch out to that we feel will be successful, you know, we're open to that as well as a business. We're not in a box where we're da-da-da-da-da. We only want to do basketball. If something comes up that works in our facility outside of basketball, we will do that as well. Okay.
So you mentioned social media a number of times and how it wasn't around during your time. It's here today. What advice do you give kids on social media?
Well, I don't have social media. And my business does, and you know, we have it through there. But personally, I don't have this. I don't have social media. I need to get it. My kids are working with me now to get a Twitter and a Facebook and all that different stuff to get into the new millennium. They tell me, Dad, you're not even in the new millennium. But I tell my kids, I say it's out there forever. It's, you know, and when you base your life on that, it's just not reality. You know, I tell them reality is what you do and say and who you are. It's not a picture. It's not a video. And I'm just really scared by the whole thing. You know what I mean? I just very, very scared. When I had kids, I was scared to put their pictures on the internet and at first, and it's just very scary to me. But it's what the world is. You know what I mean? And we need it for business. And but it's just very, very tempting for young people to get caught up in so many things that we never had to worry about, you know. So it's a double-edged sword, and again, it's like AAU. It's here, we deal with it. But I make sure I tell my kids to be very, very serious when you're on there and to not, you know, get into situations that they shouldn't get into, and because jobs, colleges, everybody looks at this stuff, and they don't understand that, you know. So it's something that I don't participate in personally, but as a business, we all definitely need to utilize it in the right way. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, Stoughton Rotary Club here. Quick question, going back in years, since we just talked about social media. Back then, when you contracted with the Celtics, did you have an agent or a manager, or was this your family making a connection to?
Good question. No, I had an agent, and the funny story with the Celtics was I wasn't even talking to the Celtics when I was a free agent. I'm sitting in Philadelphia. I'm getting ready to sign with Washington. So my agent is going back and forth with Washington. We're about to sign the contract. So my agent calls me and says, Dana, I'm just going to call ML Carr and just tell him that you're going to sign with Washington just to see what he says. So he calls ML Carr, and then ML Carr is like, I'm going to call you right back. Don't do anything. An hour later, ML Carr called me back with like a 20% higher offer than what Washington was giving me out of the blue. Like totally of like a joke phone call, like, you're going to lose out, you know. And he was like, oh, okay, well, we'll call you right back. So that was kind of how it happened. And the funny thing about it, I remember like it was yesterday. When I came in '89, I'll tell you how my contract was my first year. 200,000, 225, 250, 270. I made my 8th year in the league. I was making 350. So we weren't having these crazy contracts. So I signed with the Celtics, And then they're like, okay, Dana, it's 4 o'clock. We're going to do the press conference and we'll sign the contract tomorrow. And I'm like, the hell you won't? I'm coming right now. He's like, it's rush hour. I said, I'm coming right now. I said, I'm not going to sleep unless I sign this contract tonight. Otherwise, I won't be able to, I'm going to be going crazy. So what I did was I rode my motorcycle and I went through the traffic and I got down there in about 45 minutes, true story. And I made Red Auerbach and ML wait because I was not going through the rest of that day without signing that contract. That's how much I wanted to be home, and that's how much I wanted to make sure that my family was secure. You know, I might have a heart attack tonight, and they're not going to guarantee that, you know. So that was kind of funny. And ML still talks about that to this day. You got a question?
No. No, do me a favor. Going a little bit backwards, I realize, but there might be a couple of people in the room who are not as basketball students. Maybe you just can touch a little bit on your position as point guard. Most of us have seen basketball that don't know the game. But what does a point guard do? You're not as tall, certainly, as a center. What's the difference between what you do and a center would do?
Well, I mean, point guards. Obviously, I'm one of the smallest players to play in the NBA. Probably one of the 10 smallest players to play. So it was, and I was just actually explaining to them. I don't realize how short I am until I look at myself in a picture compared to them, you know. So I'm taking a picture with Paul, and I'm looking. I'm like, okay, my arm is around his waist, you know what I mean? And he's like, and I don't realize it because I'm just playing basketball, you know what I mean? So, but I was in a weird position because I shot the ball so well. They didn't want to put me at point, and they kept saying he's not a point. You got to be a shooting guard, and then But the story of why I love being an underdog is every time they brought somebody in there to take my place, I just kept beating them out. Next year, I just beat them out. Next year, I just beat them out. You keep thinking someone's going to be better, but you can never find that person. And that's what every year I was like, okay, who's coming this year? I'm looking at the draft, looking at the papers, and that's just the way, and that's the way I like it. That's the way I want it. You know what I mean? That's just the way I want it, and I wouldn't take it any other way. And that's just like being your own business, your own boss, you know, your own owner. You want to do things the way you want to do it, and you don't have any problem putting in the work and the time to do it. You know? Okay.
Tell everybody why nobody at Boston College can wear number 3 anymore.
Well,
setting you up. That's a setup.
Yeah, they retired my number at BC. You know, and it took like 30 years, but I'm still happy. I had to pull the AD aside and I had to put him in a headlock for a little bit. But he's my man though, so he made it happen, so I can't. It wasn't his fault that it wasn't that time. So I actually give him a lot of credit for making it happen. Before he left, he actually left. So yeah, that was a great honor, and Boston College has been, you know, I have a son there now and a son going next year. My wife graduated as well, so that's kind of like home for us, you know, second to the city. So you know, hopefully they'll turn it around, man, you know. Hopefully that'll be, but it was an honor to do that, along with Bagley, John Bagley, who played before me, who was an NBA player of 11 or 12 years as well, so, and that was pretty cool. Especially while my son was going there, it was, you know, I think his likes on his Facebook went way up after that. You know? All right, good.
Someone asked this earlier, but what's your vision for the future of the basketball facility that you have?
Our vision is to just keep growing and doing what we do. We feel that we're the best teaching, training company, not just because I played in the NBA, but because I've been doing this for 30 years. And this is a word-of-mouth business, you know what I mean? If you know, you pay for services, and if you don't get those services, and I pride myself in that. And that's the most important thing for me, is that if you come and you join those clinics every Tuesday, in 2 to 3 weeks, I expect that you'll come and say, hey, you know what? Johnny's actually dribbling a lot better. And I've come to expect that because of what we've had the track record of doing for 4 years. I'm there 85% of it. If the Celtics don't have a game, I'm usually there at the running in them clinics myself. And that's another, you know, foundation that my mom said to me. She would say, well, this person wants to do this with your name, and then she's like, are you going? Are you going to be there? And I would say, nah. She's like, and they're not using the name. You know what I mean? And I was that was embedded into me, that if your name is on it, you need to be there and you need to be responsible if something goes wrong, and you need to be accountable, and but also get the accolades as well. Anyone okay? Go ahead, and then you can go ahead.
Hey, when you're at home, watching Celtics game, how verbal are you? You stay quiet.
Oh wow, I'm gonna tell you, I don't say a word during the Celtics games. The Patriots games, I go crazy. My wife is like, go up in the office. I'm screaming, stomping my feet. Tom Brady is that's my favorite. I tell the kids every day, you have the two greatest inspirational athletes in the history of sports. You have Larry Bird, the worst athlete to ever play in the NBA. He had a 2-inch vertical leap. He ran a 7.1 40, and every night he gave you 27 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists. Okay? Every person in this room, every kid in this state, in this country can relate to him. Maybe not being 6'8", but you can relate to him. Tom Brady is the same way. He's a 6. Did you see his tape running in the 40 when he was at the combine in college? He could barely keep his feet straight in front of him. And he was picked in the 7th round, and he's the greatest quarterback to ever play. Not because he can run, jump, he has a cannon arm, because he outworked everyone with his diligence and his preparedness. Bird and Brady, like that's all I tell a kid. Go tell your mom to pull it up on YouTube and tell me how this man can do this. The only way he can do it is if he outworks everyone. And that's the best way I can tell you. That's the only thing I can tell a kid is, I'm only here because I worked harder than anyone I ever met. Ever. I've never been in training camp when someone was in better shape than me. Ever. Because I'm petrified of that. I'm petrified. At 5'9", I cannot be out of shape. They're already ready to try to get me out. So that's just the mentality I love to have, and I love to share with kids. Embrace being the underdog. Embrace the challenges and the obstacles. Just sharpens your steel, and it makes you stronger in the end. Last question, go ahead.
How do you feel about the changes in the game in the last 10, 20 years?
Man, I wish I was playing today. I think the Celtics take the most threes in the league. 30, more than Golden State. 35, 40 threes a game. And I remember playing, if I took 3 or 4 threes, they would look at me sideways. I better make 2 or 3 of those, And Reggie Miller was kind of one of the guys who started really to change that. And now you can't even touch the guy. This is a foul. When I played, I tell you, I'm playing Michael Jordan, and his hand was this long. He would put his hand on my waist, and he would put me any way he wanted me to go. And that's just God's honest truth. You could, and the way the game was played so physical back then. I promise you, I would go down the middle, and I would shoot a little runner or a finger roll. Charles Oakley or somebody, or the Knicks or Alonzo Mourning would look at me and go, Dana, that's your last warning. And they would literally clothesline me. Because you didn't get kicked out, you didn't get fined, you got a tech, and you got 2 free throws and $500, and you stayed in the game. There was no 10-game suspensions and 20 games. It was, you got 1 warning, next time you come down the middle, you're going to get laid out. And that's the way the game was. That's why people say Steph Curry couldn't, I'm not saying he could still play then, but when he came over half court, a guy would be in his chest like this, because this was legal back then. You know what I mean? You couldn't be doing all this stuff, and somebody would just tackle you. So if you watch, I'll give you the last, if you watch the Bad Boys, if you ever watch ESPN, they have this thing called 30 for 30. And the Bad Boys of Detroit Pistons, you watch what they did to Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan went to the hole, I think, 41 times in that series. He was knocked down 36 times. And Dennis Rodman was crazy, falling all over him, kicking him. That's just the way the game was played. And until Chicago could figure out that they're not going to beat them with anything other than toughness, they didn't beat them. So, yeah, it's a totally different game. But I'm jealous. I'm not mad. I'm jealous. I wish I could play now. I definitely do. So, all right, well, thank you guys. And again, I appreciate it. And it's an honor to be here. You ain't my cake. I didn't get a cake.
Thank you. It was delicious, actually. I want to thank Dana for being here and sharing this information. Somebody, I don't know who it was, but somebody had mentioned to me, and I apologize if I get this wrong, but someone mentioned, because it's important, but little Dana Barros is Stoughton, Mattapan, Stoughton, Easton person, was named by one of the Charles or Shaq, I forget which one I was, yeah, that when they asked who was one of the best point guards in the game, history, and Dana Barros' name was mentioned. So that's amazing for someone from Mattapan. Thank you. So I think we had a great time, we had great food, and we learned about perseverance, and that's probably the most important aspect. I'm sure Dana did a great job in getting that through to everybody here. Now the idea is for us who have kids to go home and knock it into them a little bit. Thanks. I hope that everybody did enjoy themselves, and that's it. We're done. I just wanted to tell you one thing that we're working on that is I'm hoping you guys will be happy about, but we're still in the beginning planning stages, but we are planning to bring back a completely different type of taste, and it will probably be called Taste of the Chamber. It will be in June. We have a working date of June 21st, and we'll get all the details out to you, but it will be an evening event. It will include beer, wine, and liquor things. And so just keep your eyes and ears open for that, especially if you're in the food and or restaurant business. It's going to be the place you want to be. So thanks again to Dana. Thank you, Stephanie, for helping us coordinate this. The site is absolutely beautiful. I was there Saturday, and the place was a madhouse. Don't forget to take off your shoes when you go there. Thanks again.